Shut up and sit down.
Welcome back into another fabulous episode of No One Asked Us, episode 59 of the show. We've been going for 13 months now. We're more than a full year in. I'm Craig Choate. That is the Logan Lee. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter at No One Asked Us Pod, at Craig W. Choate, at the Logan Lee. All of those are on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, or in the description of the show. We also have our show Facebook, No One Asked Us Pod, and Instagram at No One Asked Us Pod as well. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, bump our numbers up. That would really help us, and we would really appreciate it. On Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening, rate and review. Again, greatly appreciated, not only for listening, but if you hit those buttons, we would like you even more. Logan, how you doing? Are you recovered? We're actually, before I get to Logan, it is Wednesday afternoon. We have postponed a couple days. It is Wednesday afternoon. We are sorry for the delay. I know it was a crazy weekend of basketball, but we had some postponements that we had to push some days back. So we are here. This is probably going to be less of a review show and more of a preview show of the tournament, but there has been a ton of stuff happen since we last talked. So we do have a full rundown. So expect a quite lengthy and robust show today. All right, now we can go to Logan, since I so graciously interrupted myself. How's it going, Logan?
Going well, Craig. It's going well. Happy. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm not happy to be back. The delay was on me. Obviously, I was traveling on Monday, and then Tuesday I kind of just needed a day we got back super late Monday night. So kind of Tuesday I needed to recover, and we had to do some things around here. So my fault on the delay. Appreciate those that are sticking it out with us. As we said, recording this here on Wednesday. But yes, I am back. I am back from my brief vacation. Second straight year that I have experienced the first weekend of the tournament on vacation. There are certainly benefits to that, and there are also downsides to that. But either way, had a good time. Got to enjoy some much better weather than what I'm experiencing right now. Spent 4 days just hanging out on the beach and at the pool and watching basketball and eating good food. So it was great. Not nearly long enough, but I have returned back into my humble abodes and ready to rock with you. How are you? You good?
I'm good because I'm going on vacation in 4 days.
Ready for yours?
So everything that you just described, I will be experiencing in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of a longer one than I did.
Yeah.
But that's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. Are you ready? Are you pumped?
Yeah, I'm very excited. And going into dog dad mode here. I'm a little worried about the pups. That's about it. We have a dog sitter.
Are they traveling with you? Oh,
no. Dogs are not allowed at the condos that we stay at. So we've got a dog sitter. One of Christy's coworkers is gonna dog sit for us, which she has before. They've met her when in the fall when we went down to Atlanta for Halloween. She kept him for a couple days, but this is gonna be a little bit of a longer trip. So yeah, and the little pup's 1 year old now, so he's a little terror. And yeah, anyways, we could go on about him, but yeah, I'm excited. Just the dog dad in me is a little worried about the pup and us being gone for this long. So we'll see. He'll be fine, but just a little worried. So like I said, loaded show, tons of college basketball to talk about, but NFL and MLB have just been bonkers the last 7 days. So a lot to talk about. And Logan put in a Oscars preview. And I watched a couple shows and movies that I want to tell Logan that I watched because I haven't told him yet.
Exciting.
But first, as always, moment of the week. We were just talking that neither of us really had one. Did you find one?
Sort of. This isn't exactly a moment of the week.
I thought it might just be that you were on vacation.
Well, that was the moment of the week. That was 4 days worth of a moment. No, just a shout out to a couple people. Neither of which will ever listen to the show, but so I've talked about it on here before. Back in 2013, 2014, I spent the winter and spring with Saluki women's basketball. That was the first year of the Cindy Stein regime. Cindy had just taken over the program. It was a struggling program. She came in. She had a stint at a couple different schools, including at Mizzou. She came in, took over the program, built them back up, just won a regular season title. We've talked about them before on this show. But Cindy announced at the beginning of the season that she was going to be retiring after this season. So we knew that was coming. But the one that was a surprise yesterday was Andrea Gorski, who was her top assistant that year, spent a few seasons there, and then she took over the head job at Bradley, which was her alma mater. Both of those coaches I got to know really well. Andrea especially was really close with her daughter during my time down there. Saw her a couple times while she was coaching in the Valley up here at Valpo. She just announced that she was also going to be retiring. So she wanted to spend more time with her family. As I mentioned, her daughter, she lives down in Florida now and has a daughter of her own. So I know she just wants to be a grandma essentially. So both of those ladies who, as I said, I spent a lot of time with back that season, announcing they're done in the coaching game. I imagine they'll both probably tip their get their toes into the broadcasting world, I think. But just want to send a special kudos, congratulations out to those two, Cindy Stein and Andrea Gorski. Great careers, both as players and as coaches. Great people as well, both calling it quits. So the Valley's going to have at least two vacancies in the women's basketball department this year that they'll have to fix. So a couple good programs, couple good coaches, good people. So wanted to give a shout out to both of them.
Good stuff. I didn't know them personally.
Yep.
I might have met the daughter. What was her name?
Kylie.
I might have met her once or twice in Carbondale, just around. But I definitely knew the name because through you and a couple other people that worked with the program that I knew. So knew those names, but didn't know them personally. But I did see that come through Twitter. Now that you said that. Mine is NCAA tournament related. And we're going to talk a ton about the tournament, but I wanted to get this moment in now. When the ball got stuck behind the backboard and the Indiana cheerleaders, the male cheerleader held the cheerleader like they do and pushed her up, and she just grabbed it from the back of the backboard and got it down. I mean, I feel like that's not that unique, but just the way the arena reacted and the way the broadcast, I think it was Andrew Catalan, the way he called the events that were playing out in front of him was a really cool moment. It was during the first four, I think, wasn't it? Or was it the first round?
No, it was the first round.
It was the first round. It was St. Mary's, Indiana, and the Indiana cheerleader. Yeah. So it was cool. If you haven't seen it, it was all over Twitter. You could just YouTube it, Google it. Indiana cheerleader gets ball from backboard, whatever. Really cool moment. And definitely going to be in one shining moment at the end of the tournament.
Absolutely.
Moving on now to our question of the week. Last week we asked, does the Big Ten get an NCAA men's basketball championship this year? They had 9 teams, the most in the field, and we had almost 50 votes, and 77.1% said no, 22.9% said yes, which is honestly, I thought there would be more no's. There were more yeses than I thought there would be. So overwhelmingly people say no. Of those votes, what would you have said pre-tournament, and now that we only have 2 Big Ten teams left?
I mean, I still would have said no, but I don't know. I thought, I always think every year that one of them might. I didn't think it was Illinois. And we've talked about Purdue having their flaws and everything. I thought maybe they have a chance this year, just because I just didn't feel like. Well, they do. Yeah, they still do. They have 2 teams left. I just didn't feel like there wasn't like a dominant team this year going
in college basketball.
In college basketball.
In general, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought maybe this would be the year. But it's down to just the 2 of them, and I don't trust one of them very much at all. So that's still a no. That's still a no. It'd be great if they do. I would be happy for Purdue if they won. I don't really care for Michigan, and I don't think they will. But I can't say I'm very confident in that at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it happens. I would have said no before the tournament started as well. Just Big Ten is pretty deep. They've got always got 6 or 7 good teams, but when it comes tournament time, it's been a while since they've had a team that I think was an easy pick for a Final Four or a national championship. So I'm going to stick with no there.
Why do you think it is? I mean, I know we've talked about this a couple different times at different points in the show. I mean, we've talked about the schedule and everything, but it's not like the Big Ten's playing more conference games than other conferences.
We'll get into that here in the tournament. I got a section where we break down conferences in the tournament, so we'll talk about that there.
Carry on.
The question this week, we just turned to spring, like technically on the what's that called? Whatever calendar that is. No, like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it is technically spring now, I think. I don't know. So what is your favorite season? Winter, spring, summer, or fall? There's a clear last for me, and there's a clear third, but 1 and 2, I'm not really sure which one I like more. So I'm curious to see what people.
I'm with you. There's one that is probably a clear last for me, although there's part of it that is, I'm sure you what that part is that I do really enjoy. But
should we add a 5th option of should we add Christmas season to the poll?
No, so because I also like basketball season, and basketball season is also in winter. So
yeah, I'm genuinely curious about this. So those that are listening, if you could go to our Twitter, vote on this poll, because I'm curious as to what people say is their favorite season. So, all right, moving into it, a ton to talk about. Let's just get right in. Again, we do post-game shows, or we did post-game shows for every Illini game this season. Those are all on the same places you're listening to this. So if you want in-depth recap minutes after the game ended, go to it. But Illinois did beat Chattanooga Friday night in their first round, 54-53. Came back. They only led for 25 seconds in that game. They had no reason to win that game, but they did survive, moved to the second round of 32, where they lost to Houston 68-53. 4-seed Illini lost to 5-seed Houston 68-53 on Sunday afternoon. It was the first game of that Sunday window, which I despised as soon as they released the game times on Friday night. I just hate that Illinois got that window.
Can we talk about that though? Do you know why they do that?
I think they put the best matchups on the solo games.
Yes, sort of. So my dad was listening to another podcast. I believe it was CBS's Eye on March Madness or something.
Yeah, Matt Nylander.
Yeah, it's his show or something. And he said that, and this makes sense, they consider the 2 coveted spots to be the second game and the third game of the day. Both of them are solo. The first one's obviously a single, whatever. There's nothing competing with it either, but they consider those to be the best 2. So from there, they figure out what those matchups are for the first. So the first one, the one that they want to be the marquee one was Michigan State Duke, 2 storied programs. So that got the 3rd spot. And then the second spot is the second best. And they gave that one to Villanova, Ohio State, which went before Duke, Michigan State. So then it's based on wherever else those games are. So, and whatever other game is in that arena or whatever. So the first game then was Illinois Houston, because they were playing in the same arena as Villanova,
Pittsburgh,
Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then from there on, they just build it out from there. So apparently that's how they do it, which makes sense. On a, Saturday and Sunday, those, 2 to 5 o'clock start times are probably going to be the most watched games. So they start with those and then they build it out from there. So that is why Illinois had the early start on Saturday.
It's just crazy that has happened 2 years in a row now. Because last year Illinois was the 12-10 game. Were they the first? On Saturday? They were the first game on either Saturday or Sunday.
See, last year might have been different because of the whole Indianapolis bubble thing. I don't remember if it was structured that way because they were playing in different arenas and stuff. But either way, that's how it's done. So moving on.
All right. So how do you feel now after 2 days to rest on it, 3 days to rest on it? Any different feelings than from the post game?
No, it still sucks. It still sucks. I think. I don't know. We talked about it too much on our post game. I've seen, other people have mentioned it, and it's stuff we've talked about all season long, but I don't think we touched on it then. This team just never reached their full stride, their full potential. And I think that's the unfortunate thing. I don't think that Illinois was ever a national title contender. I do think they had the talent to go further than they did, but I don't think they ever hit it. They always had somebody out or somebody struggling. At first it was Kofi, and then it was Curbelo, and then there were times where it was Trent. Jake missed the last however many games. RJ missed several games there towards the end of the season. The last 2 or 3 games, Trent had pink eye. And so like this team just never felt like they were all healthy at the right time.
Yeah.
And gelling and hitting that stride like you need national champion contenders to do. And that's the unfortunate thing. You could say, yeah, obviously to go the last 3 seasons, 3 of the best years in school history, or, the last couple decades, and to only have 2 tournament wins under your belt. It's all unfortunate. It all sucks. But I think that's the thing that frustrates me the most is that, and it's not anybody's fault. That's just the way things happen, the way things shook out, but they just never reached their full potential, full stride. We kept thinking they would hit it at the tournament. They would hit it at the tournament. And I mean, they got close, I guess. But as I said, you didn't have Jake for so long towards the end of the season. RJ was missing for, a good chunk of the last part of the season. And then the whole thing with the pink eye. So it's unfortunate. It's frustrating. That's how this era is likely going to end. I don't think they were going very far anyway. I would have loved to have got a Sweet 16 out of it. I just think Arizona is too dangerous. So even if they were to have gotten past Houston, I think they would have been in probably for a world of hurt. But either way, it's over. We move on and we look ahead to next year, which I've been just sitting here patiently waiting for to see all these dominoes, what's going to fall, because it could be a long off season. Waiting around for Illinois basketball, seeing what this roster is going to look like.
I think you hit the nail on the head that we never saw this team fully healthy. We never saw this team hit their peak. We still don't know what this team could have been, because like you said, Kofi missed the first 3 games. Curbelo suffered a concussion in the 3rd game, and he missed 12 games. On top of that, Austin Hutcherson, who we haven't mentioned for months now because he got hurt again. He's played 4 games in 2 seasons.
The enigma
of Austin Hutcherson. Curbelo comes back, and then he gets COVID. Kofi has a concussion halfway through the season. Grandison's shoulder was a huge factor. That was a massive factor in the postseason. I feel like there was one more injury that you didn't mention that I can't think of right now. Boss man Verdonk, who doesn't really contribute much, but he had his concussion too. But yeah, you hit it on the head. It's just we never found out what this team truly could do, or this team truly was. So we move on. Like I said in the post game, like you just said, it's back-to-back years with NCAA tournament wins after not going to the tournament for 7 years. It's progress. I texted my group chat some stuff, and I think I put it, someone commented it on our last YouTube show, the post-game show, about, Underwood not being the right coach or having the success. Jay Wright didn't get his first NCAA tournament win or his first trip to the second weekend till his 11th season as a head basketball coach. Underwood just finished his 9th. Jay Wright had a stretch from Jeff Goodman tweeted this, and I should have picked up on this because Jay Wright was a comparison that I was making to Illinois on Saturday. Jay Wright had a stretch from 2000 to 2007, maybe. It was a 6 or 7 year stretch where they didn't get out of the first weekend. And do you remember before they won the tournament, everyone was like, I'm not picking Villanova to go to the Sweet 16 because they always lose. A couple of years ago, it was Virginia. I'm not picking Virginia to go very long because they lose. Well, look, Virginia's got a national championship. Villanova has 2 national championships. It takes time. It takes culture. I remember Illini Athletics tweeted out a video from Underwood in 2017, one of his first practices in October of 2017. He basically told his team that he was practicing with, he said, you guys don't know how to win. You guys don't know what winning is. Now he has everyone in his program has been a part of winning. Trent and DeMonte were like the start of that. They came in, they were freshmen, they didn't know how to win. Now they do. So now the culture comes around and it's progress. It's going to happen. There were a couple guys in my group chat that were sky is falling kind of guys questioning Brad. And I went through and I looked at all his recruiting stuff kind of to look to the future. 24/7 does their, they have the star ratings, but they also have like each player's like 0.9172 rating out of 1,000. It's like a batting average almost. The average rating of Brad Underwood recruiting classes has gone up every single year. This class coming in now is his highest ranked class. It's coming. That's all I'm trying to say. It's coming.
And I would like to address this.
Okay.
It's not a large segment of the fan base, but I do
the
know
Brad Underwood fan base.
There is an anti-Brad Underwood fan base that has all of a sudden emerged.
That's because he hasn't won. He's never made it to the
shadows.
second weekend.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that argument, and that is frustrating. But let me just ask you this, Craig, and anybody else out here that's listening. Who do you expect to walk through that door?
Yeah.
Like, you think Tom Izzo is just going to walk through? Like, yes, you and I have talked about Illinois and how good of a program Illinois is and how good of a job it is and all these things. But like, this guy just brought it back. It was dead. Illinois basketball was dead. He just took them to what should have been 3 straight tournaments. You have a Big Ten regular season title under your belt. You have a Big Ten tournament title under your belt. You have 2 All-Americans, first team All-Americans under your belt the last 3 seasons. And it's not enough for you? Like, who do you think is walking through that door? It's just, I understand that you want more. You want Sweet 16s, you want Final Fours. You think that's where they need to be. And I don't disagree with you. But like, come on. Give the guy a minute. Like, he has built something back that we haven't had for a decade or more. Like, chill. Like, we don't need this to be. We're expecting too much. I think it's not. It wasn't too much for us to expect a Sweet 16.
Yeah,
it wasn't. Last year sucked. Absolutely, 100%. Last year sucked. Being a number 1 overall seed, losing in the second round, but you didn't lose to 15 seed St. Peter's. At least you lost to an overseeded or underseeded Loyola team. Could have looked a lot worse.
Lose to 11 seed Iowa State.
No.
Like, yeah, it could be worse. Let me rebuttal one of your points, though. You touched on having back-to-back All-Americans. To me, that is a knock. That is something that makes it look a little bit worse because you had back-to-back All-Americans.
I know.
And you did.
I know.
The fact that you had back-to-back All-Americans is great, but the fact that you didn't get a Sweet 16 out of them kind of outweighs the fact that you had them because you should have had a Sweet 16 at least. That's right.
Trey McCaffrey's had 2 back-to-back All-Americans, 3 back-to-back All-Americans. Does he have a Sweet 16?
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you have somebody that wants to be there and is good at his job. I get it. You feel like you should have gotten more. Okay, cool. Sorry. We'll try better next time. And I don't know what the future of this team is right now. This could be an entirely different roster next year. So that's where things will start to change. And if in a few years, if things aren't looking up again, sure. At that time, make your decision. But to make that decision now, come on. You do not want that man walking to Kansas State. Like I know people were saying, like, yes.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit.
That was the rumor. Brad was going home, going to Kansas State, yada, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, he just let him go. Let him go. Take Curbelo with him. Man, shut up. Like, come on. Just, yeah. All right, go on. I'm done.
That was a little soapboxy.
I just read a lot of it. I've read a lot of it lately, and I think it's ridiculous. I just do. Yeah. We just lived through the freaking John Gross era. That was awful.
Speaking of, John Gross was like inches away from upsetting UCLA.
I know. John Gross is a great guy, and he's a great coach at the major level. terrible, but like that was a terrible era for Illinois basketball.
Yeah.
And people had their knives and pitchforks out for Bruce Weber. Like, again, who do you think is walking through that door?
I'm going to say it. I mean, the future is bright. It's coming. The Sweet 16s, the Elite Eights. Illinois is going to be in a Final Four under Brad Underwood if he sticks this out. Like, it's going to happen. It just takes time. It's not like, and something that I think people need to consider more than they are. We talked last season when they got beat about how this team had no tournament experience. That's thanks to COVID. That whole team would have had tournament experience if COVID hadn't happened, and last year and the loss to Loyola might not have happened. So just chill out. Everyone chill out. All right, let's get to the tournament. Once March Madness is done, we'll dissect more of the Illini offseason. I don't think we're going to get into too much of it now unless things start rolling in, which we haven't seen as of yet, but we'll talk more about that later. I kind of got it broken down here in just a couple bullet points for the NCAA tournament. 6 top 4 seeds have been knocked out before the round of 16. So the top 4 seeds are the seeds that are expected seed-wise to get to Thursday or Friday, the Sweet 16. So number 1 seed Baylor got beat by UNC in the second round. Excuse me. Jeez. Number 2 seed Auburn, which I did on our selection show. I said that UNC could bounce Baylor in the second round, which they did. Number 2 seed Auburn lost to 10 seed Miami in the round of 32. Number 2 seed Kentucky lost to St. Peter's in the first round. 15 seed St. Peter's beat Kentucky in the first round. Do you remember what we said about that, though? Because I think I sent it to you, too. We both said Kentucky had a cakewalk to the Final Four.
Absolutely. They did.
And then 3 seeds lost. Tennessee lost to 11 seed Michigan, and Wisconsin lost to 11 seed Iowa State. And, of course, Illinois lost to the 5 Houston in the round of 32. So Illinois is the most excusable answer that loss there. Like, you lost to a 5 seed. Everyone else lost to double-digit seeds except Baylor. They lost to an 8 seed. How do you feel about that? Is that more than normal, do you think? Are you surprised that at 6 of the top 16 teams seed-wise are already out before the Sweet 16?
I mean, I haven't really compared those numbers to other years, but I mean, I don't think it's that crazy. You always have, double-digit seeds that make it to the Sweet 16. You don't always have a 15 seed that makes it to the Sweet 16. But it has happened
2 years in a row now.
Who was last year?
Oral Roberts.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
And then 2013 was the only other time with Dunk City, Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah. I mean, no, I don't think it's that crazy. I didn't really see Kentucky coming. But at least, I mean, the rest of them at least made it to the second round. So
I'm trying to I think Fox Sports tweeted it out. The average seed, here it is. Average seed of Sweet 16 teams the last 5 tournaments. The average seed this year is 5.31. Last year was 5.88. 2019 was 3.06. So a lot of chalk in 2019. 2018 was 5.31. So the exact same as this year. And 2017 was 4.06. So some similar numbers. Last year was a little bit higher. You had a couple more double-digit seeds last year to make the Sweet 16 than you did this year. So that's where we're at seed-wise. Should we go over the bracket, the actual bracket? I guess we didn't even do that. I got to turn around and look. In the West, the West is chalk. The West is chalk.
Yes.
Gonzaga, Duke, Texas Tech, and Alabama. Not Alabama. Arkansas. The South is Arizona, Houston, Villanova, and Michigan. So 1, 2, 11, and 5. What's the one on the East? Is that right? Kansas and
that's the Midwest.
That's right. The East is the bottom left. I'm trying to remember here. Kansas is the one. They have Providence, so 1 versus 4 chalk there. and then Miami and Iowa State 10 versus 11. So that's a upset city bracket there. So we'll have at least one double-digit seed in the Elite Eight, and then the East, yes, is North Carolina the 8, UCLA the 4, St. Peter's the 15, and Purdue the 3. Look at that. Didn't even have to look. So that's where the bracket stands heading in to this weekend. So here's the conference breakdown that I paused you at during our question of the week. The ACC and Big 12 are tied with 3 teams each. The ACC had 5 teams in the tournament. Big 12 had 6. The Big East and Big 10 and Pac-12 each have 2. So the 5 of the 6 power conferences have multiple bids. The only one that doesn't is the SEC. They only have 1 with Arkansas, along with the American, the MAAC, and the West Coast, the WCC. Big 10 had 9 teams get in, only 2 in the Sweet 16. Pac-12 got 2 of their 3 total in. SEC had 6 teams in the tournament, and they only have 1 in the Sweet 16. So who are you most surprised by in this tournament, conference wise, their performance?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's got to be the SEC, right? I mean, the SEC had 6 teams in.
I was going the opposite way, but yes, go ahead.
A number 2 overall seed. Plus you had, I got to think who else was in the SEC.
Auburn, Kentucky, Alabama.
You had 2 2s.
Yep. Tennessee was a 3.
I mean, that would probably be the most surprising to me to go from 6 teams down to 1. But I know where you're also going to go, and I'm going to go ahead. I have a question for you, but I'll let you say what you're going to say because I know what you're going to say.
The ACC.
Yeah.
First of all, surprised they got 5 teams in because they were talking 2-3 weeks ago that it was going to be a 1-bid league. Like if Duke won the conference tournament, they weren't going to get any at-large teams. Right. Well, they got 4 at-large teams. Well, 3 because Duke was a lock. Virginia Tech won the tournament, and then Notre Dame, North Carolina, and Miami. Yeah, who 2 of them are in the Sweet 16 now. So
let me ask you this:
I when I asked the question, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking along your lines of the SEC disappointing. I was thinking who was the most surprising good performance.
How much stock do you put into tournament performance when talking about how good a conference is?
Quite a bit. Excuse me. Jeez. Quite a bit. Because that's comparative to the country, like it's kind of like the Big Ten. Like we always think the Big Ten's so good when you're playing other Big Ten teams. And then you get to the tournament and the ACC teams or the Big 12 teams just run over these Big Ten teams. So that, I think that lets you know where you stand.
Okay. Couple things off of that. Because yes, you're right. I do agree. But I don't think the fact that the ACC, the 3 of these teams won 2 games in 4 days, really counters the fact that the ACC was awful this year. Same for what the Big 12 did last year. The Big 12 last year was awful, and they still had however many teams make it to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, whatever. I had a friend who's a Notre Dame fan who I've been texting with all year long about, how bad the ACC is and does Notre Dame get in and like all these conversations. And he texted me the other day. He's like, is the ACC still that bad? I'm like, I don't know. They were awful this year. So they should, as you just mentioned, they should have only got like 3 teams in. Yes, it's, you play for the national tournament. You play for the NCAA tournament. Absolutely, 100%. That is everybody's single goal. But like, part of me just doesn't want to put as much stock into winning 2 games in 4 days as to be, that is what defies your season. Same, back to the whole Michigan conversation we had on Sunday or whatever day that was. Whose season would you rather have, Illinois or Michigan? I mean, Michigan, they just won a couple games in a couple days that Illinois didn't. Does that mean that I would rather have their season? I don't know. Probably not.
I saw someone I came across it on Twitter. Someone put that poll out. What's better, Big Ten championships or Sweet 16 appearances? And it was like,
what did people say?
58% was Sweet 16s.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. That's not where I would. I mean, I don't know. That could be a different conversation, but I don't know.
Maybe that should be our question of the week.
It could be. Maybe we should change it up because that would be a little bit more entertaining than seasons. But I don't know. That's just where I'm at. Yes, it surprises me. The ACC was pretty bad this year, and they pulled off a couple surprises. But I don't know. I just
I found it. 450 votes. It's final results. I don't know. He posted this on the 20th. Big Ten titles or Sweet 16s or better? Question mark. What's more important?
Well, see, that's the better part.
Different.
Is the difference.
Yeah.
The question that you asked me the other day was, at this point, whose season would you take, Illinois or Michigan? And I would still 10 times out of 10 right now take Illinois.
Yep.
If
Sweet 16s are better.
Further, it's different.
Got 56.4% for the record. So.
If that was Sweet 16 and done, or a Big Ten championship, I think that's might be a different outcome. But yeah, so the ACC, yes, absolutely surprised me to do what they did. The SEC on the other end absolutely surprised me too. So Big Ten to only get 2 out of 9, it's unfortunate. Doesn't really shock me. I thought they had a few teams that had a good shot, but I don't really know what the answer is about the Big Ten. It's annoying. It's frustrating that they can't seem to get there. And it's not over. Purdue could certainly still win the national championship. I mean, Michigan could too. But we're likely looking at another season in which they don't. And that sucks when you get nine teams in the tournament and only 2 of them are able to get out of the first weekend. So not great, Bob.
You asked the question earlier.
Did I? I don't remember.
The reason for the Big Ten during our question of the week. You were asking the reason the Big Ten hasn't had success. They haven't had a national champion since 2000. Michigan State, only 2 chances to do it this year with Purdue and Michigan. I don't know that there's a simple answer
there's not.
The talent isn't going to Big Ten schools.
No, that's not what I thought you were saying. Okay.
We were in our group chat. We were having this exact discussion a couple of days ago, and one of my buddies, Raybo, shout out Lance, sent a screenshot of the McDonald's All-American roster and what schools they were going to. Not a single Big Ten school on it. Yeah. Not a single Big Ten school.
No, that's true. That's a really good point. That's something that I hadn't really thought about. You're probably right. I mean, I think the common answer, the one that everybody talks about, is that the Big Ten just beats up on each other.
And the style of play too.
The style of play. And that same buddy that I was talking about earlier mentioned the fact that it's very comparable to old school Big East. That old school Big East conference before they disbanded and split off into 7 different directions was kind of a lot like that. It was a big conference that they just kind of beat up on each other every single night. And then they get to the tournament and they probably had more champions out of it, but it was a lot of the same type of thing during the season. But I do think the All-American thing makes sense. You're probably right. I don't think, I don't know that the Big Ten really has it doesn't have the blue bloods like we talk about. I mean, yes, Indiana at a time was, Michigan State has been the most consistent school for basketball in the Big Ten for the last 20, 30 years. Michigan's had their runs. Illinois had their runs. Wisconsin's had their runs. Ohio State's had their runs, but there's not a Kansas, there's not a Kentucky, there's not a Carolina or a Duke or a UCLA in the Big Ten that are historically really good programs. To that level, as I've talked about. Yes, there are good programs at the Big Ten. I'm not here to downplay the Michigan States of the world, but at that level, it doesn't exist. Yeah. The Big Ten just doesn't have it. I don't know if it's has to do with the locations of these schools, or if it's the history of these schools, or if the schools aren't, well, it's different now with a different world, but if they weren't playing dirty enough, I don't know. But either way, it's certainly concerning when we're likely going on yet another season where the Big Ten doesn't claim a national title from men's basketball.
Yeah. A lot has been said too about the style of play, which I get to an extent, but everyone talks about how defense wins at this time of the year, and Big Ten teams have some of the best defenses. It just doesn't translate. So I don't know that I buy that. I don't either. I think it's a combination of things. And I've said it for 2 years now. I've said it for however long that it's happened. And I don't know that this is the reason, but I hate the 20-game conference schedule. It's just too much of a grind, and teams are so drained.
Other conferences play that too. I was looking that up the other day.
They do? To see what there are other 20-game conference schedules?
Look it up. The ACC, they were all 20. The Big 12 was the only major conference I found that was like 18, I think.
Really? I thought Big Ten was the only one.
I could be wrong, but I went through the conference standings just from that alone, just going down, and I'm pretty sure they were all also playing 20. Okay. As I said, I could be wrong on that because I did want to look into that, but from what I saw, they look like they were all playing the same thing because they're all huge conferences anymore. The days of the 10 to 12 team leagues are done. Every single conference has like 14 to 16 to 20 teams in it. And the SEC is only going to get bigger, which means the Big Ten's only going to get bigger eventually. So yeah, I agree. I think there's something to that. But I don't know that that's going anywhere because these conferences are only just going to get bigger. I don't like that. I wish the conferences would stay smaller. I wish we would go back to the days of 10 to 12 teams, but I don't think that's the direction we're trending. And it's because of football. This is no one gives a shit about basketball when it comes to conference alignments and all that stuff. Only the Big East really cares about basketball. So I don't think that's going anywhere as much as I would like for it to. And I think you can certainly make an argument for it. I don't think it's going anywhere.
There have been some huge upsets. Obviously, we touched on St. Peter's over Kentucky. People are saying, and they've done the research, that this is statistically the biggest upset in NCAA tournament history. When you compare St. Peter's basketball like revenue and spending comparative to Kentucky's revenue and spending, it is statistically the biggest upset in NCAA tournament history. Then you had Richmond, the 12-5 over Iowa, Michigan over Colorado State and Tennessee, Iowa State, the 11 seed beat LSU, who's just a disaster right now, and Wisconsin. I said it selection show Sunday, I think, that I'm surprised Iowa State still got in. They started the year like 13-0 and they ended it like 21-12. Like they ended the year so bad in the Big 12. And then, of course, UNC over Baylor. So there have been some upsets. Thoroughly enjoyed the St. Peter's over Kentucky upset, as I think most of Illini Nation did, as Kentucky's kind of become an unofficial rival over the last calendar year with Illinois after taking a couple coaches and what some of their players have said on social media about Illinois. I love the Richmond, Iowa upset. Iowa has not made a Sweet 16 since 1999. Did you know that? Did you realize that?
No, I didn't realize it'd been that long.
And then Michigan over Colorado State, don't think was an upset technically. Seed-wise it was, but Michigan was favored in that game by Vegas. Beating Tennessee was a surprise. I think a lot of people had Tennessee as a sleeper Final Four team, the way they were playing. So, yeah, upsets like always. But there hasn't – one thing that this tournament has been missing, there hasn't been a buzzer beater.
Really? Not one?
Have there been? I can't think of any that have – I can't think of anyone that has made a buzzer beater to win a game.
Probably not.
Which is baffling to me.
TCU or who?
TCU, Arizona. Did. Arizona almost had the dunk. Yeah.
The dunk.
Late Sunday night.
Would have been been a buzzer beater.
So hopefully we get some. Now that our team is out, I don't care. Sorry, I'm sure you can hear Onyx in there. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I'm sure you can hear him. Now that our team is out, I just want chaos. I don't care who wins. Give me buzzer beaters. Give me all the good stuff.
I was going to put that out there on Twitter one day for a poll. It was going to be something like after, or, aside from rooting for your team, what do you root for? Do you root for madness or do you root for your bracket? Because like, everybody fills out their own brackets and people are rooting for that. But like at the same time, like I'm also kind of just rooting for chaos. Like, I mean, yeah, I obviously want to win money, but I also just want to see 15s beat 2s and everything else. I watched that game 1,000 feet above the ground, and let me tell you what, that was fun. That was fun.
I had a Kentucky fan texting me Sunday. Prior to the game, he sent a couple texts, and then like 5 minutes into the game, he stopped texting me, and he called me later that day. Like actually, he called me right after we got done recording our post game Sunday. That's why I was a little bit longer delayed to get it out than normal, because he called me and we talked on the phone for like 35 minutes to an hour. But he was texting me and he was like, man, I'm relaxed. I'm chilled. My team's out. I don't care. I'm just watching the games. And I was like, I am so happy that I'm there with you now, honestly, because I am so glad I don't have to stress for another week waiting an Illinois Sweet 16 game. So that's where we're at. You touched on brackets. Let's go over ours real quick. We tweeted them out on Thursday morning. I have all four of the, this is mine first. I have all four of the West Sweet 16, Gonzaga, Arkansas, Texas Tech, and Duke. I have two of the South, Arizona and Villanova. I had chalk there. So I had Arizona, Villanova, Tennessee, Illinois. I have one of the Midwest, and that is Kansas. I had Auburn, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And I have one of the East. So I have 4, 5, 6. I have 8 of the Sweet 16 teams, and 3 of my 4 Final Four teams are left. And my national champion is left, but not my runner-up. I had Auburn losing to UCLA. So that's where my bracket stands. I've got Logan's here. He has 3 of the 4 in the West. He missed on UConn. He has 2 of the 4 in the South. He missed on, 3 of the 4 in the South. He had Michigan. He missed on Illinois. He has 1 of the 4 in the Midwest, which is Kansas. And he has 2 of the 4 in the East. He missed on Baylor and Murray State. We were so close on that Murray State call. So what was that total? 9?
9.
9?
9 of my 6. 9 of the 16.
And 3 of your 4 Final Four teams are still alive, and both of your national championship game representatives are still alive. So you're sitting in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see my tweet at you after Iowa lost? I quoted our show tweet where we tweeted out the brackets.
Yeah.
I just said, you good? I said, you good, Logan? Because you had Iowa in the Final Four.
I think I was driving to the airport when that happened. I was listening to that one in the car.
So,
okay, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, before we move on from the tournament, I do have one thing I want to ask.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Finish your thought.
So, we're going to reset here. Let's do our new Final Four picks. Are you sticking with your 4?
Well, I mean, I can't stick with one of them because they're out.
Well, yeah. Are you sticking with the other 3?
Let me look here again. What did I have? I just lost it. Okay.
Yeah, Texas Tech, Arizona, Iowa, and Purdue.
So I'll stick with the 3 that I have right.
Okay.
Tech, Arizona, and Purdue. I will stick with that. So I got to pick a 4th. Kansas. I mean, it's got to be Kansas that comes out of the Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stick with that. I'll stick with Arizona and Kansas on the right side. I mean, I could change from Tech. I think Gonzaga or Duke would be reasonable things to switch to, but I won't do that. I'll stick with the 3 that I have, and I'll just swap Kansas in for Iowa.
Okay. I am gonna stick with Gonzaga. I'm gonna stick with UCLA. I'm going to replace Auburn with Kansas. I'm also going to replace Arizona with Houston.
Really?
I don't know if it's because they just beat Illinois and, I'm so impressed with them, but I really liked that team. They were athletic. Shed hit some clutch shots. I just think Arizona's vulnerable. I watched their game against TCU. Sure. Probably should have lost that game, to be honest. So I'm going to go with Houston in the Final Four, and I'm going to stick with UCLA. I'm going to have UCLA beating Kansas in the championship. Okay. Who are you going to go with?
I'll keep with what I have. I have Arizona over Tech. I'm going to keep with that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I'll roll.
All right. What's your final NCAA tournament?
Well, I just wanted to know I just wanted to ask if there was anything you would change about the NCAA tournament. You know,
is there something that I can't.
No. I mean,
the broadcast.
We did talk
the broadcast. Yes.
Yeah,
I thought it was a hot take. Apparently it's not.
It's not a hot. No,
I thought it was a hot take.
That's been a take for years, Craig.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm in the camp that it bothers me that CBS and Turner have the tournament because they broadcast one game a week for the final month of the season. Like ESPN has wall-to-wall college basketball. Jay Billis, Dick Vitale, all these experts covering the sport from October to March. They don't even cover it in April. Like they're in studio. Like they can't do anything. And then you throw Reggie Miller on a broadcast that doesn't do any college basketball throughout the season. He's an NBA guy. You throw Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith in studio, Ernie Johnson. I said Eddie Johnson. Ernie Johnson, which he's great. I don't mind him at all. He's a host. He's not an analyst. Give me more Ernie Johnson. I don't understand why you have NBA guys calling the college basketball national championship. That's where I'm at.
I mean, you like the reason why is because
I understand it
to do it.
Yeah. Well, they pay the money to do it. And if you even watch ESPN coverage now, they're doing in-game interviews with the draft expert about the guy's draft NBA potential. So like that's what everyone cares about now when it's not. Like I'm watching college basketball to watch college basketball.
So my response to your tweet or your text was that I agree with you about all the Turner guys, the Turner people that don't cover college basketball.
Yeah.
I like CBS's standalone coverage. I get that they don't do
they just don't do it enough. Yeah.
Jim Nantz doesn't call college basketball until
Final Four,
freaking second week in
tournament.
March.
Yeah.
Like he might, once football season's over, he might do a Sunday game, like a couple before the Big Ten tournament, but that's it. Like I don't mind their coverage. I wish they did more of it. What I wish is that they would be a little more open to bringing in ESPN people to do this. They used to do that when it was just CBS's coverage. When they had every single game, they had to do that. Jay Billis was on the call for the Arizona Illinois game back in 2005.
Yeah, he was.
They used to do that. They used to be more willing to bring in people that have been doing it on a consistent basis. I understand the whole thing with Turner. You're bringing in their people. Now you have more people to do it. I just wish that they would do that. I wish that Robbie Hummel would get the call to do that. I wish that Jay Billis would be on some of these calls. That stuff. As you
Dick
said,
Vitale, if he's healthy.
Right. Dick Vitale. I have Jason Benetti. Jason Benetti needs to be calling these games. I have no issues with any of these broadcasters as standalone individuals. I like Reggie Miller calling the NBA. But as you said, they don't watch or cover any college basketball all season long. And then you're throwing them into these games. I agree with you there. I do not like that. I just wish the agreement with CBS and Turner is obviously not going anywhere. The Final Four of the championship game are going to be on TBS this year. That's going to be strange. But yeah, I'm with you. It's not a hot take. I think that's a take that people have had for years.
All right.
But yeah. So
okay. Let's move on. There's a lot more to talk about. The coaching carousel has pretty much come to a standstill. I think most jobs have been filled. So I've got them all listed out here. I'm going to talk about one. Okay.
I noticed you've listed a lot of names here. I was told Brad Underwood was leaving Illinois. Did I?
We're going to talk about the first one and break it down.
Information?
Then we're going to talk about the rest of them as a whole and just talk about them as a whole. So Kansas State hires Jerome Tang from Baylor. He has been a Baylor assistant since Scott Drew went from, I forgot where Scott Drew came from. But since Scott Drew has been at Baylor, Jerome Tang has been an assistant. He's helped him rebuild the Baylor program. So Tang gets his shot at Kansas State, replacing Bruce Weber. Like Logan said, there was a massive movement and belief that Brad Underwood was going to leave Illinois to take the Kansas State job. I don't know if we had straight out said that on this show yet, but there was a good chunk of Kansas State fan base that thought they had a legitimate shot at Brad Underwood, and they still think that there were calls made and numbers exchanged, and financial figures exchanged to try and get Brad to go to Illinois. We are not insiders. We don't know any of that information. All we know is that Brad is not going to Kansas State. If you ask me, I don't think it was ever close, just from what I think. There was one article that I read on a Kansas State board. Yes, I went on a Kansas State message board to see what they were saying. They were saying that Brad Underwood's buyout at Illinois was upwards of $7 million. Kansas State either just gave their football coach an extension or recently gave their football coach an extension that upped his salary to more than close to $4 million. So he would likely have to take a pay cut or restructure his contract to accommodate for Brad Underwood's buyout, plus the Brad Underwood salary that they would have to pay to get him from Illinois to pay him equal to what he's making at Illinois. So it sounded like there was a bunch of financial hurdles, and it just makes absolutely zero sense to leave Illinois to go to Kansas State, to leave a top 25 job to go to a maybe top 50 job. It just doesn't make sense. Although he did play there. So if that was the big factor, if that was that important to him, okay, if you want to coach at your alma mater, go ahead. But how often does that work? That rarely works where a coach succeeds at their alma mater.
That's what I said on the show the other day. Like, if he wants to go home, let him go home. I don't have no issues with that. I was always more concerned with Florida. I don't know if he was ever really considered for that, but like, to me, of all the jobs that were open, that was the one that was the only one that I felt like was a step up. If that was going to be the movement he was going to make. I mean, you can make an argument maybe for Louisville or LSU, but with all the stuff going on with those schools, no, that wasn't happening. So like, more so, yes, the Kansas State, if you wanted to go home, that type of thing. But like, Florida was the one to me that I thought, okay, if he's going to leave, it would be that, because they could afford him. They would pay for him. And I do think that job is at least comparable, if not a step up from Illinois. The Kansas State thing, I was never really invested in that. I just didn't think that was realistic. Unless he just really wanted to go home, which I would never be upset about somebody just wanting to go home. So I was just told it was happening. I was like, that's all I read. Brad Underwood was leaving. That reporters were talking about it in Kansas City and across the state of Kansas. Brad Underwood is leaving Illinois to go to Kansas State.
He probably just wanted to go to that Pizza Hut in Manhattan, Kansas, or wherever it was. I would have put it at 30-70 that he would leave for Kansas State. I didn't put any stock into any other jobs. It had me a little bit worried, but yeah, I forgot LSU was open until you just said that. So I put their coach in here too. Did you see something? Like, did you see anything linking Brad to Florida? Or where did that come from?
I feel like somebody, well, just because they were open jobs. I mean, it wasn't necessarily that I didn't really see him linked. I do think somebody said something about it being an article that his name might have been mentioned just because
he was on every hot board. No, I mean, he was on.
I don't think it was.
He was on the Louisville hot boards down here, but they all said, why would Brad leave a top 15 program coming to uncertainty in Louisville? Okay, so we'll talk about Louisville next, just because that's where I'm at, and I know a little bit about what happened. They hired Kenny Payne, who was an assistant at Kentucky for a number of years. I think he left after the 2020 season, 2021. He left recently. He was currently an assistant for the New York Knicks, so he was in the pro game where they got him from. Everyone down here, Kentucky fan or Louisville fan, loves this guy. Everyone just adores this man. So I think that's what Louisville needs, because Louisville's a program that's easy to hate because of what they've done. From what I gather, he was at the top of the list the entire time. I mean, I don't know the program very well, but I thought they might go for someone that had some head coaching experience like a Brad Underwood. I know a lot of people thought maybe Scott Drew maybe he would leave Baylor to come to a Louisville program that's top. They're probably not top 10 right now, but notoriously a top 10 program. I think when we did our coaching rankings, we both had them in the top 10. When they're good, it's one of the best jobs in the country. So I thought maybe they could pry Scott Drew, but they are going to have some sanctions coming down. They're going to have some, they're going to be in some trouble. So I think that kind of swayed a couple people off maybe, but they got the guy that they wanted, I think. Did you see, or do you know anything about that?
About Scott Drew or about Kenny Payne?
No, just about Louisville job or Kenny Payne, or what your thoughts are on him, if you know anything, or what this program could be.
No, I did. I was reading, Jeff Goodman was getting into some sort of interaction on Twitter with somebody who was some Louisville fan who was saying that, I don't know, Goodman said something like he's not a household name or something. And this Louisville fan was like trying to argue with him, like he was Phil Jackson or something. And I'm thinking like, I kind of know the name, but like, I honestly don't know who he is. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Like,
yeah, I had never heard the name until Mac was fired.
Louisville, I mean, I guess he's, if he's that famous in the area, great, but I don't know that he's necessarily a household name. But yeah, I think that is a program that could have brought in somebody bigger. But yes, with the sanctions and everything else, I don't know that that's really a destination that somebody like a Scott Drew would want to go to. But he would make sense for that kind of job. I mean, that would be the logical next step for him. If there is a next step, he might just stay at Baylor for forever and then call it a day there. But that reminded me though, now that we have the like podcast and stuff, we might want to like go through and redo our rankings that we did several years ago.
That's an off-season segment.
That might be.
I've already started redoing mine.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I haven't. Okay,
yeah.
That's great. We'll do that later. Okay.
All right. So I think putting a ribbon on Louisville, I think it's a good hire.
Sure.
He has the support of everyone that's played in the program. He played for Louisville. I don't think I mentioned that. He played for Louisville, won a national championship with Louisville and Denny Crum, and very well respected. It's interesting though, because he's very closely connected with Worldwide Wes. You know who that is? Look up Worldwide Wes. Worldwide Wes. William Wesley. He's very closely connected to him. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out in the Louisville situation. Yeah. Okay. I know who that is. Yeah. My zoo just walked in the office, so it might get crazy here in a little bit. But we're going to power through. The Big Ten job, Maryland hired Kevin Willard from Seton Hall. He had a decent record at Seton Hall. He won one conference tournament, one regular season title, made 5 of the last 6 NCAA tournaments, but he's only won 1 game. That's a name that was linked there for a long time. No, you had seen that, I'm sure. Yeah. My question though, pertaining to Maryland and this list that we need to redo, I feel like Maryland's dropped down this list. Yes. So does Onyx. Yeah, that's a job that I feel like 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, was better than it is now. And I don't know that was a direct correlation to moving to the Big Ten. Do you know who the regular season champ in the Big Ten was in 2020, the year that the postseason was canceled? I think it was Maryland. Maryland won the regular season Big Ten title the year the postseason was canceled. But I think that if I were to go through that list, I don't remember where either of us had Maryland, but I would almost guess that they're probably lower. I just don't think that's nearly as enticing of a job as it used to be. I don't know necessarily why that is, but I mean, the Kevin Willard thing, he had some good seasons at Seton Hall. I don't know. I feel like there's a point where that would have been a much splashier hire than that. So that's my take on that job. I can tell you where I had him. I don't know if you have it pulled up. I don't know. I had Maryland at 19. I had him at 19. It's lower. I don't know. I'd have to find my list. I already have moved 3 programs ahead of them. Yeah. I'll have to take a look and find that and everything. But just going off of what I would have guessed that I would have had when I did that, that's a program that I think would have gone down. Do you think that they should
I mean, we talked about this whole conference realignment a few episodes ago. Do you think they should go back to the ACC? Like, do you think that would be better for them?
I mean,
do you think that there's any benefit to them being in the Big Ten anymore?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, the ACC is where they belong, but at this point, I don't know that it matters because the Big Ten's not going to have one of Maryland and Rutgers. Like, they're going to keep them both or they're going to get rid of them both because it doesn't make sense to have one team on the East Coast. So the next one I have on the list is Missouri, just because it's close to Illinois. They hired Dennis Gates from Cleveland State. He's been there for 3 years. He was 50-40. He's been to one NCAA tournament. In my eyes, a very blah hire. Like, I know he's pretty well respected. I watch a lot of the Field of 68. Jeff Goodman really liked him. Those guys on there really liked him, but just it is Missouri basketball, so they probably weren't attracting the top guys.
Another program that I think has slipped.
Oh yeah,
they've fallen off a cliff.
So that's the first. Missouri is one of 6 SEC programs with new head coaches. So let's rip through these. Georgia hired Mike White from Florida. Mike White left Florida to go to Georgia. He was bumping what's that called? Bumping heads with administration there. So he got out. He spent 7 seasons at Florida, 4 NCAAs, 1 Elite 8, won 62% of his games in Florida. And then Florida turns around and hires Todd Golden from San Francisco. He's like 36 years old, a really, really young guy. He spent 3 seasons at San Fran, 57-36 overall. They went to the NCAA tournament this season and got beat by Murray State. They were a 10 seed. LSU plucked up Matt McMahon from Murray State. Had a decent record at Murray over his, I think, 7 years there, 3 NCAA tournaments. And I didn't write it down because, like I said, I forgot LSU was open, so I just put it in the rundown. But there's some weird stuff in his contract. Like, depending on the severity of the NCAA sanctions, like, he could get more money or something. Like, the way to entice him to get to take the job is, you know, if we get put on 2 years probation, you get $2 more million or something like that. It's really weird. So I'm wondering if they had trouble finding someone to take that job because of the sanctions that are coming.
Interesting.
Mississippi State might have made the best hire of the coaching cycle. They hired Chris Jans from New Mexico State. In 5 seasons there, he's won 79% of his games. He won 4 regular season titles, 3 WAC tournament titles, which they made 3 of the last 4 NCAAs because of that. And they made it to the second round this season, knocking off UConn in the first round. So he has had a powerhouse at New Mexico State. So good hire by them. South Carolina finally found their guy. A couple of guys turned them down, but they got Lamont Paris, who Illinois knows well. He was the coach at Chattanooga. 5 seasons there, took them to their his first NCAA tournament this year, where they should have beat Illinois and lost by 1. Any thoughts on those SEC hires, or do you want to just keep trucking here?
No, just keep trucking.
And then the Miller brothers are back in basketball. Sean Miller is back at Xavier. He spent 5 years with them from 05 to 09, 4 straight NCAAs, 2 trips to the second weekend. Then he spent 12 years at Arizona, more than 300 wins at Arizona, 7 NCAA tournaments with 5 trips to the second weekend. But he was fired last April. So almost a year ago, he was fired because he got caught up in all of the FBI stuff. He straight out got caught paying DeAndre Ayton to go to Arizona. So he lost his job. So he's back at Arizona now. And Archie Miller is back in the Atlantic 10. He coached Dayton for a number of years, then 4 years at Indiana, did not make a tournament, and was 33-45 in the Big Ten in his time. He is now at Rhode Island. So there's the coaching carousel. Brad Underwood still at Illinois.
It won't happen until they're done, but I do think the coach from St. Peter's is going to Seton Hall.
Seton Hall, I believe, is the only high major school with a coaching opening. I can look it up real quick. ESPN has an article that keeps them up to date, but I don't have it. But yes, I believe the St. Peter's coach who played at Seton Hall will get the Seton Hall job once St. Peter's season is done. All right, that's a ton of college basketball, men's college basketball. Let's move on. Women's college basketball, Illinois has their new head coach. Shauna Green was named Illini women's basketball coach. She spent 6 years at Dayton, 127 wins and 50 losses in 6 years. She took her team to 4 NCAA tournaments. They got an at-large bid this season. They were in the first 4, where they beat DePaul, I think by double digits, maybe by 20 or more. So she won an NCAA tournament game this season, and then they were bounced by, I want to say Georgia, in technically the first round of this tournament. When Nancy Faye retired, this is the first name that I saw, a guy from The Athletic. Brian Hamilton said they should go after Shauna Green, but she's probably going to have a lot of phone calls. But Illinois got her. Josh Whitman got her. I listened to a press conference yesterday. She said that the day that Illinois lost in the Big Ten tournament, she met with Josh Whitman that night. I think he flew to Dayton, or maybe drove to Dayton, because I don't think it's that far from Indianapolis. Drove to Dayton, met with her. He texted her before and after each one of her games from then on out. And then the day in between, I think, games, Saturday, I guess, between men's games, he drove from Pittsburgh to Dayton. I think that's when she signed the contract. Just said that he was so persistent and she felt so comfortable with him and all that. So seems to be a good hire. I think it's one of those programs that you just, when it's not working, you fire the coach or the coach leaves and you just keep trying to pluck the next up and coming mid-major coach until something works. So it seems to be reviewed really well in the women's basketball circles.
Yeah, no, I think that was the first name I saw too. It seems like the right fit, right person to me. That's a program that needs help. It needs a lot of work. It needs a real jolt. The Big Ten's good. I mean, the Big Ten is a good basketball conference, men's and women's.
I think they have 4 teams in the Sweet 16.
They do, yeah. It makes sense. She has obviously Midwest connections already, mainly Ohio and Indiana, but she has connections to Illinois too. And as I talked about before, there's a lot of talent that's come through Illinois, just even downstate Illinois, even outside of Chicago. Like that's the thing that bugged me the most about that program, is so much talent came out of there the past like 5 or 6 years that went to play Division I basketball. Like they weren't all playing high major basketball. A lot of them were playing mid-major, but like still there was so much talent that came out of that area that Illinois just like didn't even give the time of day. Yeah. So just going for that, just to start, just to get yourself going and get people coming to your games, like that would be huge. Yeah. So I think that the job, I think that's a great hire. I think it'll end up being a great hire for Josh Whitman. And it makes all the sense in the world to me. So
yeah,
I'm happy for that one.
She recruited Caprita Brown from Schlarman to Dayton.
Right.
I think Caprita initially committed to Xavier. They had a coaching change before she got there, in between her senior year or whatever it was, and she decommitted and then went to Dayton to play for Coach Green. So Illini women have their coach. Just recently, within the last couple hours, Chris Thomas signed a 5-year extension for Illini volleyball. So good for him. Good for that program. Hasn't had quite the success that Kevin Hambley did, but they're still going to NCAA tournaments. They're still competing in the Big Ten. So good for him. And then some huge Illinois football news today, coming out of, like we just said, a community really close to Champaign. Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond athlete Kaden Feagin committed to the Illini. He's a 6'3", 221-pound athlete. I think Illinois recruited him as a running back. He also plays some linebacker. Other schools were recruiting him for defense, but Illinois has him at linebacker or at running back. 24/7 Composite has him as a 4-star, .9115. Those ratings that I was talking about earlier with basketball. As of now, he's the 24th best Illini football recruit of all time since the recruiting base has started. He's the 240th overall prospect in the class. He's a class of 2023. I should clarify that. Class of 2023, 240 overall, number 3 in the state of Illinois, highest ranked Illinois prospect since 2015 for Illinois, and the first top 10 in-state prospect since 2017 when Lovey got Ricky Smalling and Kendrick Green. The other 2 schools that the Illinois really beat out were Notre Dame and Iowa. He had a number of other offers, but those were his top 3. And I think Illinois kind of ran away with this here in the end from everything that I've seen from our recruiting friends, mainly those at 24/7, Jeremy Warner, Joey Wagner, Ryan Easterling. Those guys do a great job in recruiting. But yeah, it's a huge get, a huge, massive get. Brett Bielema has done a really good job in the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
I know he signed 10 or 11 guys in his first class last year. This is the first commit of 2023. It's an in-state guy. It's your top in-state target. He's a 4-star from, I think that's Douglas County, which is right there next to Champaign. Just a massive, massive, massive get. And to beat out Notre Dame and Iowa to get him, I just don't have enough. I don't have enough good words to say about what this says about the program.
I think it's a huge get, but I think it's an even bigger defensive move. Just
to keep him away from Iowa.
Yeah. Anywhere.
Yeah.
Both. I mean, this has just been a theme for both football and basketball, letting in-state talent go to other schools.
Yeah.
So like anytime you can get somebody, especially somebody that close to Champaign that had offers from high major programs to stay, like that's just a huge win. Even more so than the player himself. I'm sure he's going to be a great addition to that team. But we just got to have more of that. Like, as I just talked about with the women's thing, it's the same thing. Like there's a lot of talent in that state and a lot of it's leaving. It's been leaving for years. So just to be able to do that, to keep them from going somewhere else, that's a huge win for that program. Absolutely.
He said in multiple interviews that Bielema's pitch to him, he said, I'm looking for my IO. Like he was looking for someone like IO and comparing it to the basketball thing where IO, committed to Illinois when there wasn't really much to sell and completely turned the program around. So I don't know that Kaden is going to have that impact because it's harder to have that impact in football than it is in basketball, but it's comparable. To build out that in-state base, and that's what Brett Bielema has been pushing. So huge get for him. A good move for Feagin. I know he's hurt right now. I think Jeremy tweeted that he was in a boot and on crutches for his announcement. But yeah, big news for Illini football. Speaking of football, I know we've been going for a long time, but we got quite a bit more to talk about. I'm just going to run through all the trades and signings that have happened, and holy cow. Deshaun Watson is now the Browns quarterback. Devontae Adams is now on the Raiders. Just today, Tyreek Hill traded to the Dolphins. Allen Robinson has signed with the Rams. Matt Ryan has been traded to the Colts. And an Illini connection, Ted Karras, is now on the Cincinnati Bengals. Holy cow. What surprised you most? Watson, Adams, Hill? What?
I think
what's your take?
The Tyreek Hill thing. Like, I don't know the whole backstory there. I'm sure there's some sort of issue he has with somebody. But like that's a Super Bowl winning caliber team with a elite quarterback.
Yeah.
And now he's just gonna be a Dolphin. They haven't had a good quarterback since Dan Marino. So
yeah.
I that's the one that surprised me the most, and that was just today. So like the rest of these kind of make sense. I mean, Deshaun was going to end up somewhere. I know he has a lot of baggage right now, but Devontae Adams surprised me too. I guess that's right up there with the Tyreek Hill thing. I think both being receivers, going away from elite quarterbacks, Super Bowl caliber teams to barely playoff contenders. I mean, the Raiders are better than the Dolphins. Obviously, they have a better quarterback, but I think Matt Ryan to the Colts is a great move for the Colts. The Falcons are essentially they were done. Like they're ready to rebuild again. And the Colts believe that they are a Super Bowl caliber team, or at least a playoff caliber team. Just needed a quarterback. My question now is, who still needs a quarterback? Because I believe Baker Mayfield is going to be somewhere. He's not going to be a backup. He's too good to be a backup quarterback. So who still needs a quarterback? And like, I guess I haven't like looked
Panthers?
at all of it.
Panthers, maybe.
I guess.
Got Darnold. I think I saw with Hill that I'm pretty sure the Chiefs made him an offer, and he was like, "No, I want to get out." So that's, like you said, that's an interesting move. Deshaun Watson, we should say, was cleared of all criminal charges. That's kind of what let this happen. Once that happened, the Texans were like, all right, we'll trade you and go wherever you want. It was interesting, though, because he went to visit the Browns, and then he told the Browns that they were out, and then he visited the Falcons and the Saints, and then he's like, no, I think I want to go to the Browns. So it was, I don't know what happened there. Devontae Adams to the Raiders, reconnects with his college quarterback, Derek Carr. And he's also from Vegas, I think. So going back home, and he wanted to be paid as the top receiver in the league. And I don't think Green Bay could because of all the money they just spent. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, just a craziness in the NFL to go along with the Rodgers stuff and Russell Wilson and Khalil. The AFC West is just stacked. We don't have enough time to talk about everything going on, but that's the gist of what's going on in the NFL. Let's move on to the MLB. A lot of stuff has happened. Chris Bryant has signed with the Rockies. Anthony Rizzo is staying with the Yankees. Kyle Schwarber's with the Phillies. Seiya Suzuki, the Japanese star, has signed with the Cubs. So you got your guy there. And then the Cubs also signed Jonathan Villar, Drew Smyly, Daniel Norris, and the Cardinals signed Corey Dickerson. So those are all the guys that we have connections to. How you feeling about your core four that are not with you anymore and where they landed?
None of it surprises me. I think that I was still holding out hope that somebody would end up there. I wasn't really sure who it was going to be. Obviously Javi had signed before the pandemic, so we knew that was over. The Bryant, I knew Chris Bryant wasn't coming back. I was surprised by the Rockies thing. The Rockies thing, it's close to Vegas, and it's a park that he can probably destroy at, but like they have not handled stars well lately. So did he not talk to Trevor Story or Nolan Arenado?
That team traded Nolan Arenado and $50 million to the Cardinals for nothing. And then they signed Bryant for 7 years, 182.
I don't know what they told him. I think, and I listened to a Cubs podcast on Dwaylen with some of the Athletic guys and Brett Taylor from Bleacher Nation, and they made the point where Chris Bryant is just tired of the trade negotiations and the trade talks and all these things that have circled his life the last 4 years. And the Rockies gave him the length that he wanted, the money he wanted, the no trade that he wanted. So if he's happy, I'm happy. I love Chris Bryant. He will forever be one of my all-time favorite players for what he did for Chicago and for that city. I'm happy for him. The Rizzo thing, I thought there was part of me thought that it was the most likely that he would come back, but the other side of that is that I think it was a pride thing. He got offered. I know that I went on a rant talking about that it wasn't enough money that they offered him. And I believe at the time, I think that was true, but he had another pretty poor season. So he bet on himself and it didn't really work out for him. So for him to just go back to the Cubs, I don't think that was ever really happening. I think I was just holding out hope the longer the pandemic went on, that, the Cubs could have made it work, whatever. There are people mad the Cubs didn't offer him more money. They did offer him more money and he didn't want it. So whatever. Schwarber, again, same situation. He was in the mix. I'm sure the Cubs were involved, and I know the Cubs were reported to be involved in him. I thought there was a chance he might come back. He would check some of the boxes that they need. But again, I wasn't really shocked. I think the thing that surprises me, well, there's a couple things about this whole thing that surprises me the most. A couple of these names we haven't even mentioned, but the Phillies now, the designated hitters now in all of baseball, the National League now has a designated hitter full time. So you just added 15 more jobs to the game of baseball, and the Nationals go out and bring in two of them because they bring in Schwarber and Castellanos, who neither of them are very great defensive players. Schwarber probably a little bit better than Castellanos, but I think they were both destined to be designated hitters. But they're both going to be playing for the Phillies now.
Remember when Kyle Schwarber was a catcher?
Yeah, I do. I remember that.
Cardinals signed Corey Dickerson, left-handed bitch bat. Sure. Needed it. Don't know who else was out there. Whatever. The other big deals, Carlos Correa went to the Twins, Freddie Freeman to the Dodgers, Trevor Story to the Red Sox, Touchdown Castellanos to the Phillies, Jorge Soler to the Marlins, and Kenley Jansen to the Braves. No surprises there from me.
The Correa thing.
It was weird, but I knew the Twins were in on Story. And then once the Story price kept going up, they were just like, might as well go get Correa if the Story prices keep going up. So they did it.
I mean, whatever. If they're going to give him the money and they gave him, it's a 3-year deal with the opt out after 1 or something. So he'll likely end up opting out again next year. But
yeah,
I don't really know that they don't have much of a rotation outside of Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
So
their pitching's not very good.
I don't know that they're going to be competing for much, but yeah, whatever.
We'll see. The trade was, I don't think we talked about this, Matt Chapman to the Blue Jays for some prospects. I don't think we covered that one yet.
No.
Just don't know what Oakland's doing. They're shopping Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea as well. Just complete rebuild going on in Oakland, Moneyball style. The only other MLB news for the Cardinals, Alex Reyes has been shut down for a little while. He's injured. He hasn't thrown off a mound for a long time. And Jack Flaherty received some kind of cortisone or some kind of shot into his shoulder. Apparently he's been pitching with some small tear in his shoulder for the last couple of seasons. It wasn't serious enough to hinder his pitching, so they told him to keep doing it. And finally, him and the team were just like, all right, we're going to get this taken care of. He's expected, I think, to be out till mid-May. Could come back to the rotation by mid-May, so he could start throwing here in a couple weeks and ramp up to starter innings. Sidebar, I just traded for him in my fantasy league. I traded Chris Bryant for Jack Flaherty because Jack Flaherty was 10 cents on our $26 salary, and Chris Bryant was $3.10 on our $26 salary. So shedding some salary there and picking up a pitching, because pitching in the draft is going to be very sparse for that. Anything else sports? We've been going for an hour and a half already. Anything else sports?
We talked about this topic a long time ago, but we never actually brought this up. Do you want to take a second to bitch about Kofi not being a Naismith finalist?
Who are the finalists?
The other 4 All-Americans.
I mean, they should have just made it 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. Like,
yeah, whatever.
I saw plenty of people that were bitching about that. I'm like, what? I mean, whatever. I mean, he was in the mix. He was the 5th of the whatever. It's fine. I just wasn't sure how you felt about it. But go on.
Whatever. He wasn't going to win anyways. So,
no.
Yeah. Logan has on here Oscar previews. What you got for us, Logan?
The Oscars are Sunday. Did you know that, Craig?
I did not know that. No one's going to watch them because there's NCAA Tournament going on.
Yep, same day as the Elite Eight. So that'll be a very interesting day for me. But yeah, the Oscars are this weekend. I have my predictions ready to roll. They'll get posted today. There's I had been all the talk was The Power of the Dog was going to win Best Picture, but there is this surge by this movie that I have been talking about for months, not Luca, but Coda, that might actually win this thing. It still baffles me. But it is making a push, and I think it's certainly possible that Coda is going to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Let's see. What else did I want to mention? I'll post this later, so if anybody that wants to see it can. I've picked who I think will win, who I think should win for all these categories. A lot of it's similar to the Logie stuff that I've already talked about. But either way, that is Sunday. This will be out. So anybody that wants a sneak peek, wants their primer before the Oscars on Sunday can take a look at this. There's a couple things that I'm keeping an eye on that I think are interesting. But for the most part, it's fairly chalky. It's going to be a lot of Dune winning the technical awards. I will say this, fun fact. The song that'll probably win Best Original Song is a song called No Time to Die from the movie No Time to Die. The song No Time to Die, Craig, was released February of 2020. And it is just now getting nominated for best song in a movie, because obviously it was released prior to the movie coming out that ended up not coming out for another 2 years. So that's just a little fun fact. But yeah, that's Sunday. So on top of everything else, college basketball, we'll also have that hopefully there's chaos. Hopefully Coda wins. That'll be fun because I really enjoyed Coda. So that's it. That's okay. That's all I got. Moving on.
I told you at the start of the show, I watched some stuff that I didn't tell you I watched. Any guess or what do you think it might be?
Is this
it's something we've talked about
or a TV show?
We watched 2 movies and we started a TV show.
Did you watch Coda?
No. No. You have talked about it. You really liked it.
I liked a lot.
It's a
the Batman. Did you watch Batman?
Comedy? No, we haven't got there yet. I would consider it a comedy.
Like they came out this past year.
Yes. Trying to think of something that wouldn't give it away. I don't know who else was in this. Waititi, is that his name?
Taika. Free Guy.
Taika? Free Guy.
You watched Free Guy.
We watched Free Guy on Monday night, I think. I enjoyed it. At first, I was like, "This is weird." Like,
yeah.
I didn't know how they were going to go about it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. They did it. The way they did it was done really well. When dude comes out, I lost it. I lost it. It was so funny. It was so funny. It was very good.
I laughed the most during the end, but it wasn't that. It was the other intellectual property things that they brought up. The Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff, and
there was a ton of other movie references, and it wasn't even halfway into the movie, and I looked at Christy and I go, "That's Buddy the Elf." Like, Ryan Reynolds' character is Buddy the Elf. It's the same person.
Yep.
Just the way he was walking around the city and all that. It was, and his friend's name is Buddy. Just so many intertwining references and stuff. It was good. And then after that was over, I turned on, we got about halfway through another one. It's a musical.
West Side Story.
Yeah. Yeah. We started West Side Story. We got about halfway through. It was long and it was already midnight. So we shut it off. Did not know Ansel Elgort was in that. Did not know he could sing. So yeah, it was that's a little slow for me. I've never seen the original West Side Story or anything. It was a little slow.
It is slow. I've said it before on here. It wasn't my favorite musical of the year. I preferred Tick Tick Boom and In the Heights more so than West Side Story. Yeah. But West Side Story was the better of the 3. And I would love to see West Side Story win some Oscars on Sunday. It's up for several of them. I think it will win at least a couple. Ariana DeBose will win Best Supporting Actress. I would be fine with it winning Best Picture. I don't think it's happening. I think this is either The Power of the Dog or Coda. But I would be fine with it. I think it was really good. I think it was really well done. I'm with you. It's slower. It's not my thing. But it was a really good movie. So
there were a couple
did you
shots.
Finish it?
No, I haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
There were a couple shots in the first half that I was like, that camera work is amazing.
Yeah, if it didn't come out the same year as Dune, I think it would win a lot more awards.
Yeah.
But I think Dune is going to basically sweep every technical category on Makes Sunday. Sense. So yeah, if it wasn't a Dune year, I could see it winning a lot more than it will.
Yeah. And then the TV show we started last night was The Flight Attendant.
Ooh, I never watched that one. I started it one day and just never really got anywhere with it.
It's a little weird. It has us interested. It totally has us in, and we're bought into it, but it's a little bit weird.
Okay.
That's about how I would describe it. It's
okay.
There are moments where I'm like grimacing, like, whoa, what is going on?
I remember I did watch like the first episode. It was kind of strange. And it was not what I was expecting at all. And I never continued it.
No.
I've been watching Winning Time. Have you been watching that?
Haven't got to it yet. I think that's something I'm going to watch when Christy's at work.
I've liked it. There are 3 episodes in.
It's fictional, right? It's not like it's based on the Lakers, but it's not like.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking things from history. I mean, it's not all fictional, and it's real people and everything. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely taking a lot of liberties with some of the things that are happening. But I mean, yeah, it's all real people, and a lot of the story is real. The big discourse around that show, this Winning Time is the story. It's on HBO. It's about the Lakers Showtime era with Magic and Kareem and Jerry Buss buying the team and all this stuff. The big discourse before this show started was that this is where the Adam McKay, Will Ferrell riff started, because Will Ferrell was supposed to play Jerry Buss in this show, but then McKay, something happened. Like Will said he didn't want it or something, but then McKay offered it to John C. Reilly, and that essentially is what led to those two, who had been partners in business for years, not working together, not even speaking anymore. But I just the first 3 episodes, John C. Reilly looks a lot like Jerry Buss. Like it makes more sense to me. Like I'm sitting here trying to picture Will Ferrell in this role, and I just like, it just seems it would be very different. So like they've done a really good job with him. I really enjoyed it. I don't know that it's like the best thing on television, but I as someone that grew up, I mean, I wasn't, alive during that when all that was happening, but like I'm familiar with a lot of these people. So it's kind of cool. I'm really enjoying it. I think you'll like it too.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you've watched or you want to talk about?
Probably, but no.
Yeah, this might be our longest episode ever. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Not sure about next week. Like I said, I'm going on a trip, so I'll be kind of up in the air next week to see what we do. I won't literally be in the air, but our show status will be up in the air. But we'll hopefully try and get something out to you. If we don't, we're just going to take a week off and come back and talk Final Four next week. For Craig Choate, that's Logan.
Again.
What?
Second time you've done that.
What?
You say for Craig Choate, I'm Logan Lee.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Craig Choate, I'm Logan Lee. Good night.